Well, here we are. Conference championship weekend. And for the second year in a row, the Rams have the chance to send Sam Darnold home yet again.
Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah,
And I'm Will.
and today we're going over the conference championship preview. Oh gosh,
It's
uh,
about that.
what the heck, man? Hey, before we start, I'm gonna redo that because my computer decided to be slow.
Okay.
Come on, come on, please work. Okay, maybe, yeah. Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Will.
And today we're going over the conference championship preview. That's weird to say. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Where did the season go? Where does my football? Where's it
It's
going?
it's been flying by. That is for
Apparently.
But yeah,
But yeah, so yeah, we're gonna go over the two conference championship games. Kind of little preview into both those games, and then I guess kind of go into our predictions about how those two will go. But yeah, um, I think we should start with the AFC.
absolutely.
Kind of curious, to see how things will go there. So, obviously, as you know by this point, the Patriots and the Broncos are in the AFC Championship. It's like we never left 2014 or 15 or 13 or whatever year. We can never get anything new. So we have obviously the predicament with Bo Nix not being in the conference championship, and now we have, you know, a Bo Nix less Broncos. And then on the other side we have the Drake May New England Patriots. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
curious to see what you think about this one.
this one, I think a lot more than anything is going to be a battle between these head coaches. Again, you don't have, if you're the Broncos, you don't have Bo Nix. You don't have you don't have this kind of offense that can hold everything together and, you know, even with a backup quarterback, just be an outperforming offense. You're going to have to rely more on the defense, and you're going to have to see what your coach can scheme up with the guys you have. You're going to have guys step up in the absence of Bo Nix, because Jared Stidham is not really going to be your guy to be like, hey, I'm a Super Bowl caliber backup quarterback. So you're going to have guys step up a lot, and Sean Payton's going to have to, game plan his best game. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, you have Mike Vrabel, who, yes, he has probably MVP favorite in Drake May. And yeah, that's great. That's cool. Except Drake May has not been Drake May-esque these playoffs. He's been a little more human. He's not put out like amazing performances, but this defense has been putting on a really good show. So when you compare the two, it's kind of similar boats as who can drop the best game plan. What not Bo Nix, what Drake May has done really well is not turn the ball over too much. He has had issues. He's had a little bit more issues with turning the ball over than most of the year, but compared to kind of, especially last week, compared to the Texans. What they did is he was able to turn it over less. He was a little bit safer with the ball, and even when he fumbled or whatever, they didn't lose it every time. And again, the defense would come up big. It's gonna just be game planning. It's Mike Vrabel versus Sean Payton in this kind of matchup. The Broncos, they're gonna be at home. That's gonna help them a lot. The Patriots, they're 5.5 point favorites, obviously because they have Drake May. They have their starting quarterback. But you're going up against a coach that's been in this sort of situation. Not necessarily like missing his backup quarterback at this point in the season, but he's been in a conference championship. He's been here, done that, and so that it's not just gonna be, a walk. It's not gonna be a walk in the park. It's not gonna be super weak on either side. It's gonna be a tougher competition than the Texans were or the Chargers were, even with Jared Stidham out there. So this one should make for a somewhat decent game. Again, both of these teams I think are a little bit weaker than the NFC candidates for the Super Bowl, but it's going to come down to coaching. I think that's where this is going to come down to, is just coaching.
I agree. Kind of touched on a couple points that I wanted to. Yeah, coaching overall, these two coaches have been through the ringer. One has won a Super Bowl as a head coach. So they have a lot of experience. They do have the weapons, the utilities to probably propel them into the Super Bowl. But obviously, as we've mentioned several times already, that Bo Nix is not there. It's just a case to see how really good that coaching is on Sean Payton's part, because having Stidham as your starting quarterback, it's a lot of things are being placed upon that quarterback. Stidham is going to have a lot of pressure on him. But then again, if you get that defense rolling, probably won't be as pressured to do something. But then again, playing in Mile High is pretty hard. If the Patriots are going to do it, they have to take something out of Jacksonville's book when they were up there. I think at that point it was just a competition of who's going to maintain a great defense, because the Broncos and the Patriots have a pretty solid defenses. Obviously, the Broncos a whole lot more. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be the battle of the defenses plus Drake May, and seeing if he doesn't make as many mistakes as he did last week. So
yeah, I mean that's really what it's going to come down to. Is the defenses have been good. I mean, the way they've been winning has been a little different. Broncos have been kind of that fourth quarter team, except they didn't really have to be last week, and so it's going to be interesting to see this week if they need to pull that out a little bit more. See what kind of team shows up. But getting into our actual predictions for the Broncos and the Patriots, I think that the winner of this matchup, who will be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, is going to be the New England Patriots. I think they have this magic that they have been able to, one-score games they've been phenomenal in, and they've been able to pull these games out. But I think the aspect of that, while he's been heavily criticized, I think Bo Nix holds quite a heavy hand in that sense of magic that they've had. And I think without that, with Jared Stidham instead, they're going to need it, and they're not going to have it. I think they're going to be missing that. And so I think, Sean Payton, go with the KISS method of keep it simple. I think they can make this a really close game. It's going to come down to, again, the playmakers have to elevate Stidham, while Drake May has to continue to elevate his playmakers. We'll see what this kind of back and forth and just pure, genius-minded head coaching battle looks like, but I don't think the Broncos with Jared Stidham are going to have enough to take down the Patriots. They're going to have, I think they'll have a really good shot, and I think they'll be able to make it closer than people expect. Again, 5.5 point favorites for a conference championship is pretty out there, but I think the Patriots, they're due enough to not give this one away, and Jared Stidham is going to not have enough to get back, use that sort of like fourth quarter clutch magic to send them to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go with the Patriots.
We can never have nice things in this world, unfortunately. And this also includes the fact that the Patriots have the easiest schedule I've ever seen going to the Super Bowl. It is ridiculous. Honestly, out of these two teams representing the AFC, they're not strong. So at least with the Broncos without Bo Nix. Even then, I still think the Patriots still pull out a dub here. It's going to be pretty close, like you said. Probably a 3-point game, in my opinion. But home field advantage will play a role in that. How are they getting away with this? Like, this is ridiculous because the Patriots all season have had no real competition, and yet they're coasting right on by to the Super Bowl, and there's not been a single actual opponent that they've played all season that has tested them to their truest extent. It's really frustrating because I don't think they're that good. They're a good team. They're not that good. It's just really frustrating because Drake May has played against really bad teams all season, has only played semi-decent teams during the playoffs, and even then he's been messing up. So he's not immortal like some people have been thinking he is. But yeah, I'm going to be hearing no end to the Drake May is the next Tom Brady comparisons for the rest of my life, aren't I? So
I'm gonna get it for a while,
I
but
guess, yeah, it better not be true. And here's the other thing, Boston, you have been so lucky with your sports teams. I am being dead serious right now. Celtics has always been good. Patriots have always been really decent in the last few decades or a couple decades, and now within 5 years you're already back possibly to the Super Bowl. You don't know actual pain. You've just been getting lucky for like the last 30 years. So I guess take whatever you want. I don't know. It's no fun for the rest of us because it's just annoying. It's boring. So I don't know. Don't hate you guys. I just think it's annoying. So that's my little rant, I guess.
all right. And then moving on to the NFC Championship, where we will have the Seahawks hosting the Rams, as these two will play for the third time this season. We're gonna have a divisional matchup in the conference championship. These two have split during this season.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the first matchup. Sam Darnold didn't play great, but we saw in the second matchup the Seahawks start to figure stuff out and bounce back, and what looked like it was going to be an ugly loss for the Seahawks to the Rams, but bounced back. Rams blew a lead, and Seahawks were able to clutch that one out, and that's actually what really put them in position for that one seed. They're gonna get to play for a third time, and it's just gonna can Sam Darnold get past the Rams when it matters the most? It's I think it's all up in the air. Seahawks, they look really good coming off of last week where they just steamrolled the 49ers, and they've just been in an absolute tear the past few weeks, or the past few games. We're not even going to mention, I'm going to say past few weeks, but past few games, which extends further back. Then there's the Rams, who, it's a veteran team, veteran coach, and, you got McVay, who's been to Super Bowls. He's won a Super Bowl. You got Matthew Stafford, who's won a Super Bowl. And he's been around for a while. You got Devontae Adams. and this team that's just it's got a lot of experience and potentially pushing for some guys pushing for their last run against this
Mm-hmm.
young team in the Seahawks where Sam Darnold, this is what his second playoff appearance. Um,
Yep.
and last year wasn't pretty. It was a quick bounce. You got McDonald, your head coach, who hasn't been to a Super Bowl. He's, they've not had a lot. He's not been there very long. It's only his second season there. Team's super young, not a bunch of experience, and it's pretty, like, not been together the longest time. You're going to get a very different matchup because it's playoff time, and this isn't no banged up 49ers team. I will say the Seahawks, they looked really good last week. The game was over before it even started, and it just was the epitome of like really what a 1 seed should look like. The question is, can they do that again against the Rams, who were the scarier opponent of the NFC West for Seahawks? Seahawks were probably more hoping for the Bears last week to pull that one out, but now they're gonna go up against the Rams, who, these two teams know each other very well, and so it's gonna be should be a really fun matchup. I'm excited to see, if Sam Darnold can keep it together, what these defenses look like, and how the head-to-head of these coaches go.
Yeah. I guess a little bit on my part. Um, these two teams are pretty good. Overall, they haven't really been dealing with a whole lot of issues overall. But I have been seeing a slight trend. Recently, the Rams have been kind of second guessing, hesitating. They've been a little sloppy in the middle of the game, second and third quarter, especially against the Panthers. They did it against the Bears. Um, it's not looking too consistent. That's my biggest concerns on the Rams' part. For the Seahawks, obviously losing Charbonnet is going to be a huge hit on that. Um, Other than that, they haven't really been dealing with a whole lot of injuries, but the inexperience, a head coach and a quarterback and the team as a whole will be put into question during this conference championship. I do think that in either scenario, I think both teams winning makes sense. Like, I think if either of these teams win, it makes sense why they did win, because there are different reasons why they would win, because they're good in different ways. I don't know. Rams are just clutch. Seahawks are just really good. They're dominant. So, but yeah, I don't think there's anything super concerning, I'd say. I do see the Seahawks on an incline going up. I see the Rams going on a decline going down, especially towards the end of the year, production wise. So I'm a little concerned about the Rams, but they will put up a fight, and I think it will be a great football game. So that is my piece.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Rams and Seahawks, it should be a really fun game, and I really like leaning towards whoever wins this one for the Super Bowl. Obviously, we have to see how this plays out. Uh, you mentioned this injury to Charbonnet, which is, that's probably going to be a pretty big. It's going to change things for the Seahawks, but I will also add that K9, also known as Kenneth Walker, has been playing really well, especially as of late. So it'll be interesting to see the Rams try and put a stop to that. Last week versus the Bears, they were kind of inconsistent where they could completely shut down the run, and then there were points where they were getting bowled over, especially by Monangai. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's like you mentioned, a dominant team versus a clutched, experienced team. And so, with that being said, my pick for the NFC representative in the Super Bowl is going to be the Los Angeles Rams. Which,
What? Who could have guessed that? Sorry.
I mean, yes, I had
Poking fun
called
at you.
it. I'd called it a while ago that I thought the Rams would be there. I also said the Bills would be there, and that didn't turn out, which is woe is me, boo hoo.
Yeah.
But Rams, again, I like the Seahawks are super dominant, but you come in with a matchup that just doesn't. It seems very cupcake. This is not going to be a cupcake matchup. This is not. Like
No.
I don't
No.
see this being a complete blowout. This is going to be you have to for 4 quarters be the better team. You have to be the better team for all 4 quarters. You can't just you're not just going to run away with this one. And the Rams, they again,
Mm-mm.
even in the loss the Rams had to the Seahawks, the Seahawks were down bad. Like this, they had to crawl back into that one. And could that happen again? Sure, but the Rams have never been dismantled by the Seahawks, and so you know that this is going to be a battle to the end. I don't think as intimidating as last week's game was for if you're the Rams looking at what the Seahawks just did, it's intimidating, sure, but again, these two know each other very well. They've already played twice. Both times came pretty down to the wire, and both times Seahawks really struggled for quite a bit, and it's gonna be. I think the Rams are gonna have that advantage. They split for a reason. I think it comes down to the wire, but I like the Rams. I like the experience they have. You can there's an essence of what can you do to crawl back into a game. What capabilities do you have for that? And the Seahawks showed that in the second matchup, but it's on a completely different scale doing it in the playoffs against an experienced team who's been here with players who've won the Super Bowl. Like the Rams are the epitome of experience. They're the most experienced team left in the playoffs. And so that's what you have to deal with as the Seahawks. You have to get ahead. You can't trying to crawl back is going to be tough. There's a question again. A lot of people have mentioned it is Sam Darnold versus especially with the Rams, but even in big situations, has he figured out the Rams? Is that something that's happened? Did that happen last time they played, or is there still a little bit of struggle with that? Where, first time they played this year, he did not have a good performance, and so there's a lot of things up in the air. I think the Seahawks can pull this one out, but the Rams, again, I'm gonna go with experience. I'm gonna go with what is, they can be really high flying. Their defense can play really well, and they've been clutch. Even though it's made things a lot closer than it needs to be, they have all these things of a Super Bowl team, and I feel like things line up well for them. Again, I'm hoping and expecting a good matchup between these two, but I'm gonna have to go with the Rams as they just feel like the more Super Bowl ready team, despite the Seahawks being so great, so dominant, and such just an amazing team this year. I think this is more of a learning season. As great as it reminds me a lot of the Bears too, and so I'm gonna go with the Rams. Would not be surprised if it was the Seahawks because of how great they've been, but I'm gonna go with the Rams with the slight upset.
Okay. Uh, Unfortunately, Will, I am going to have to disagree on that.
I
I do
figured.
think the Seahawks are going to win this one.
I figured as much.
Because, yes, experience does tell a lot of things. Because when you're in the playoffs a lot, you've had a lot of experience, especially with experienced veterans like Devontae Adams. Sure, that's a good argument. However, the Seahawks have been on a roll. They've been clicking. They've been doing what they've been needing to do to not just secure the 1 seed, but have been doing good enough to convince me that they deserve arguably the best, obviously the best team in the league
Yep.
for a reason. I do think that I don't know how well Sam Darnold will do, but like I've mentioned already, I see the Seahawks on an incline. I see the Rams on a decline because, especially with recent weeks of football, Rams have not been consistent. They've been dominant earlier in the season, mid-season, that was fine. Lately, they've been struggling. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because competition just not connecting with receivers or just not connecting on defense. I don't know what it is. Rams have not been consistent. They've been clutch, but they've not been consistent. That's my concern about them.
That's,
The Seahawks, on the other hand,
yeah.
have been on incline because obviously with the 49ers win, you're just beating up a team who's already accepted defeat because, you know, they they're just, yeah. 49ers are good, but they're not Seahawks good. And yeah, the win against the Rams in the later half of the regular season kind of shows that maybe they did get over that hump. Maybe they did figure out the Rams. Um, I do think that even without Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker is still going to do incredible things on the ground. I do think that obviously JSN is going to be the best receiver in the league as we've seen all year. Um, Overall, I think the Seahawks, just because of how dominant they are, I think just in this case, I think being dominant is going to overshadow experience just because of on the trajectory both these teams are going on right now. Not saying that the Rams are bad. I'm just a bit concerned about consistency, especially during the middle of the game, because we saw this last week against the Bears. We saw it 2 weeks ago against the Panthers. What are they doing in the second and third quarter? No idea what they're doing. But I think just with consistency and dominance, I think the Seahawks are going to pull away with a dub.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for that. Again, I like experience. The reason I like experience and I like the way the Rams have been playing is even though it hasn't been pretty for all 4 quarters, they've been winning these close matchups, and that's something that I think that's what this is gonna come down to. Is it's gonna come down to the wire, and it's gonna depend on some level of clutch play. And the Rams have showed that for 2 weeks already, where the Seahawks just blew out a 49ers team that didn't really seem like they should have been there. So that's just why I like the Rams. There is I think the Rams, with the experience and winning these games in the fashion that they would need to. I mean, you look at both of these, and it's 3-point wins both ways, and I think the line for this game is 2.5 for Seattle. I just don't think Seattle. Sam Darnold's gone out. He's proven that he can play in the playoffs. Good job. Now you need to see if he can play in a close game in the playoffs, a close clutch game. Can he have everything he needs to put it together with the season on the line? It's a little bit different of a circumstance, and again, I personally like the experience of the Rams, who not only have done it, for years, but they've done it this season, and so that's again the rebuttal I have there, but. I can see the Seahawks doing it too, because the Seahawks have been so great, and I don't want to discount that at all. Seahawks have been a phenomenal team, and either team who wins on this side, I personally love going like in a matchup against whether it's Patriots or Broncos. I love them that much more because both of these teams have been really good. So it'll be fun to see who pulls this one out. But this will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of a rebuttal to your rebuttal. You can't be clutch if they're dominated all over the field. Like, you can't clutch out a game if the Seahawks are going to be dominant all 4 quarters. Like, that's my issue, is that I think the Rams are not going to play all 4 quarters. The Seahawks will. And it's hard to come back from that. So, can't be clutch if you don't give the opportunity to. So they have to play all 4 quarters. That's my concern.
I don't see this game being a blowout, though. That's the issue. Is I think this is going to come down to the wire either way. And that's where I think that this. Game
I don't think it will be a blowout either. I just think that the Rams need to be more consistent.
Yeah, and we might see that. We might see a defense who doesn't allow 41 points. I mean, or we might see an offense that
I would hope not.
Picks. Either way, it's either going to be an offense that doesn't only score 6 points, or a defense that doesn't allow 41. And so what you got last week out of Seahawks 49ers, I don't think you get between these two. I think this is going to be either a back and forth or a defensive battle. But both matchups we saw prior, I'm expecting this to be another close one, as these teams are, I think, deservedly the two best teams in the NFC. So,
easily.
I don't know. Yeah. It'll be fun to watch, but we'll have to let the game speak for itself, as
this is true.
We have reached the end of this conference championship preview. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been quite the season, and we got 2 more previews left in it. So after this, it's going to be on to the Super Bowl. And so, oh boy, it's been a wild ride and a wild season. I can't wait to see how such a season gets to finish off and just see how it ends. But appreciate you so much for joining us for this episode and all season, as always. And it's going to be quite the finish. So, we will see you next time. And thank you so much for watching.
See ya.
Bye.